it's Dr. Laura from JH Backcountry Health. I'm here to go through a little hip mobility routine with you today. So we're going to divide it into 3 sections. We're going to talk about pre-workout, kind of what you can do to loosen up and activate your hips. Post-workout, the stretches that you want to do at the end of your workout, and then a little about core stability and breathing in your stomach belly breathing. So first way, we want to get your hips warmed up a little bit. Just simple leg swings to get the leg moving. So easiest to do if you have something to hold on to, and then just swing those legs back and forth. You're getting everything activated, everything moving. I usually do about 20 on each. From here, we're gonna go into high knees and then butt kicks. So high knees, pretty simple. Getting your hip flexors activated here. So you can run down the floor doing that, coming back, doing the butt kick. So those will get your glutes and hamstrings firing. All right, next we have the gorilla walk. So these are for hip mobility and actually shoulder mobility as well. So I'm gonna scoot back a little bit so you can see. So I'm gonna come here, put my hands, maybe just depending on the person, 1.5 feet, 2 feet in front of me, hop my legs past there to my hands. Here, back, there, back. Alternately, you can do it going backwards. So legs back, hands back, legs back, hands back. If you go too far, it's difficult. So looking from the side, hopefully you can still see me here. Hands forward, jump forward, hands, jump, feet, hands, feet, hands, feet, hands. So now we're gonna go over some stretches that I like to do post-workout. A couple of reasons that we do them after the workout as opposed to before. One, it's much easier to stretch warmed up muscles as opposed to cold muscles, less risk for injury, as well as the fact that there's evidence that shows that stretching, especially static stretching, can decrease your strength in those muscles you stretch for several hours afterwards. And obviously you want to have all of your strength for your practice, bout, game. So, first stretch we're going to talk about is for the hip flexors. So, hip flexors, those are the ones that bring your knee up. Big, strong muscles. Number one, the psoas coming from the front of your spine down to the top of the femur. Iliacus sits kind of inside your pelvic brim, also inserts to the top of the femur. And then rectus femoris is one of your quads. It's the only one that crosses the hip joint as well. So that's coming up right from the front of your pelvis here, going all the way down your leg, inserting below your knee. So, simple lunge stretch for this. Several ways to do it, but I usually just start with one knee down, say I'm stretching my right hip flexor, other knee forward. I like to kind of press forward on my pelvis, get a nice stretch through there. You want to make sure you're keeping your pelvis square, that you're not tipped one way or the other. Also, it's really good if you can extend back, because the psoas attaches to the front of your spine here. You'll get a much better stretch through that if you can lean back a little bit. You can also do it with a straight leg right here. Now this is some yoga pose probably as well, but that'll take the quads out of it. You won't be stretching the quads so much as just the hip flexor. Another thing that can help, activating your glutes. Our bodies have reciprocal inhibition. So when we're activating the opposing muscles, it inhibits or turns off those muscles in front that we're trying to stretch. So flexing the glutes, press forward. Couple ways to stretch. You can do it just like flex those glutes, press forward 2 to 3 seconds, release. Come back, do it again. That's more dynamic stretching. Static stretching would be taking, holding that stretch forward. You want to do that for about 30 seconds. Evidence goes somewhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes, having good results stretching the muscles. Obviously 2 minutes is a really long time, so I like to start with 30 seconds. So that's for the hip flexors. I guess one more note there. You can also, just depending on it, change the angle that you're stretching. Sometimes you're tighter a little bit more in or out. So bringing my knee over, stretching forward, knee straight in front, stretching forward, knee a little bit more out to the side, and that'll change the angle that you're stretching through there. So that's for our hip flexors. So now we're gonna go into some glute stretches. I'm gonna start with a simple one. So one, just kind of laying back on the floor, drawing that knee to the same shoulder. Again, these are things that you can hold. And then from here, drawing that knee across to your opposite shoulder. You can see my right hip is pretty tight. If you feel some pinching in the front there, that means that your hip joint is really tight. It can be getting jammed a little bit. And that's why I always stretch my hip flexors first to kind of loosen that out. And just pull gently to that shoulder. Don't overdo it. So across to the opposite shoulder. The next stretch, hip crossover stretch. So this one, I'm laying on my back. If I'm stretching my right side, I'll drop that left leg out to the side. I'm gonna take that right leg up, drop that knee, or that foot right above my opposite knee. Goal is not to put a lot of twist in the low back. Your lumbar spine isn't made for twisting motions. You won't be able to keep that pelvis all the way on the floor, but you don't wanna be twisting that low back a ton. So once you have that foot above the opposite knee, then you're just pulling that knee up towards your shoulder. Then if you want a little more stretch, I don't have room here, but you outstretch that arm, your opposite arm, and then look over that shoulder. And you should feel this up into your glute med especially. So for the other side, same stretching my left, I'll drop my right leg out, bring this leg up, put that foot right above the knee. This one's really tight. Pull that knee up and stretch out this other arm and look over that shoulder. All right, next up, frog stretch. This one's pretty simple, so I'm gonna take my legs, I'll come a little angle here, put them out to the side, hands right here, and I'm just sitting back into that stretch. So, a little bit wider, and sit back. And up. So this one's nice to do with a little bit of dynamic. So coming forward, sitting back. From the side, here I am, knees out. Nice frog position. And then sitting back into that stretch. From here, we'll go into the 4-point stance with hip rotation. So I am just on my hands and knees, want to make a nice rectangle there. Whichever leg I'm stretching, throw that one out to the side. And then take your foot and you can kind of tip it up. That usually helps me get a much better stretch. And then you're sitting back into that. So that one I'll often feel in my adductors coming all the way along, inserting on the inside of my knee. Right there. So another angle here. Throw that leg out to the side. Turn that foot back. And then sit back. So you can move back and forth here. Holding 2 seconds there in that stretch position. Or I can kind of hold there and use my foot and stretch using that. And so this I will feel kind of all the way down the inside of the leg on the adductor muscles. All right, so now we're going to talk about belly breathing and core stability. And these are things that would be great to practice all the time. So why you would want to breathe into your belly as opposed into your chest. So if you think of your whole core as a pop can, I've got sparkly water here. So you've got all your abdominal muscles across the front going into, your sides and your back, all the fascia there, your QL, your pelvic diaphragm down here that forms the bottom of the pop can, and then your diaphragm, the one you breathe with, forms the top. And so when you're chest breathing, what it's doing is kind of like opening up the top of the pop can. So if I take this, I squeeze it when everything is tight in a nice lined up square, nothing's gonna happen. If I start chest breathing and bringing my ribs up and letting that come up, it's like opening the top of the can. Now if I squeeze the can, out. It loses its strength. So that's why belly breathing is important. It's delicious. All right, so belly breathing. Way to practice this. Just laying on your back. You want to get your spine kind of flat against the ground. And then placing your hands on your stomach. And you just want to take your breaths in, and you want to feel your stomach move up as well as out to the side. It really should fill that whole area across there. So and you don't want to be feeling the motion up here. So you can also put one hand on your belly here, one hand up on your chest. Here's what you don't want to see. There, my chest is moving up with each breath. You just want to see the whole stomach going up. So from here, you're used to breathing in your belly. Start adding some challenges to it. So let's say from here, I lift my legs up. Now I'm challenging myself to breathe through my core here. From here, I can go to the dead bug position. All right, so now we're going to talk about core bracing. And so what is core bracing? It's basically engaging that whole pop can set of muscles through your core for the maximum strength. So if you think about when somebody's going to sock you in the stomach, you're not sucking your tummy in. That's actually going to make it a lot more painful. You're pressing out a little bit, kind of bearing down to engage all of those muscles. That's actually the reason that weightlifters will wear that weight belt or that belt when they're lifting. They want to practice pressing out their core so that they have their strongest strength. This is really important because core bracing, one, it protects your back. It also gets your whole body to engage so the rest of your muscles will fire better. So core bracing, I like to practice it again in the dead bug position. So I'm here, there, arms up, and brace my core. Once you've gotten used to bracing your core like that, you can start adding in, we'll just add in some leg taps. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a breath in, brace my core, move my leg, bring my leg back, and then breathe again. So while I'm moving my leg, my core is braced. Dead bugs are great because you can do a progression on them. So if you can core brace well with these single leg taps, you can go to alternating, and that's what I've got for you today. I hope that helps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask me.